Welcome back to another session of organic chemistry. In this lecture, we're going to be seeing the last segment of aliphatic hydrocarbons. In previous lectures, we have finished alkanes and alkenes. Now let's look into alkynes. The general formula for an alkyne with a single triple bond is CnH2n minus 2. So basically, compared to an alkane, you're losing 4 hydrogens. Loss of 4 hydrogen constitutes either 2 double bonds or 1 triple bond, okay, not including the cycles. Okay, all right. Now, if you see here, this is something we have already seen. We have our ethine or acetylene, the simplest hydrocarbon of alkyne nature. So you have a C triple bond C. So what all do we know from before is the hybridization of the carbon. So here we know this is a sigma bond, this is sigma bond. This carbon does not have a lone pair, it has two pi bonds. Pi bonds do not take part in hybridization, we have seen this. So two sigma bonds, meaning I need two orbitals. So one s orbital and one p orbital. So this is going to be sp hybridized. And this makes the carbon 50% in s character. We also know from periodicity, electronegativity of an atom is proportional to s character. So electronegativity of an alkyne carbon is greater than alkene carbon greater than alkane carbon. Okay, this is going to play a vital part, particularly in terminal alkynes. There are a set of reactions which are purely because of the electronegativity of this carbon. Okay, so when you see here, as shown, there is a pi bond here, there is another pi bond here. So pi bonds are mutually perpendicular. So if you take your axes, so if you take Z as the molecular axis, so you have the bonding sigma bond in the Z axis. In the x and y axis, however you want to keep it, there are two pi bonds. So all these three are perpendicular to each other. So if this is our sigma bond, this is one set of pi bond. Let's call it pi 1, and this is pi 2. Okay. So there are two pi bonds which constitute two pi clouds, but in reality, how does it actually is? These are electron clouds. So they are symmetrically distributed around the sigma bond, so it looks like a cylinder. So this is a cylindrical representation of an alkyne. So this is the intramolecular bond axis taken as z axis, and this is along the x and y axis around the molecular axis. Okay, now a couple of things that we'll clarify. A terminal alkyne is nothing but a carbon-carbon triple bond present at end of a chain. Okay. So if you have a long chain, let's even go for a substitution, doesn't really matter, maybe a phenyl ring here, all right, and I have a carbon here and a hydrogen here. This becomes a terminal alkyne. Terminal alkyne is extremely important because the terminal hydrogen is acidic because of the sp nature of this carbon. So a hydrogen attached to a sp carbon is acidic, meaning it can answer tests for an acid. Not all tests, but some of them. Okay, we are going to see which ones later. So anytime I have a triple bond on the corner, that's called a terminal alkyne. If it's not on the corner, it's somewhere inside, it's called a non-terminal alkyne or internal alkyne. Okay. And when it comes to a double bond, we know that for an alkene, we even had this, it has a ring strain, but it's still possible to have. When it comes to alkyne, the smallest cycle that is stable is a 10 carbon cycle. Okay, how do you draw a 10 carbon cycle is, if you were to draw it in two-dimensional plane, you will draw it this way, but it is not actually easy to draw. This is the easiest way to draw, although this is not exactly how it is. All these carbons are sp3 hybridized, but this is the way to visualize. This is the smallest cyclic alkyne that is stable. Anything larger than that is going to be okay. The reason, because here if you see, these are sp hybridized, meaning the bond angle is 180 or close to 180 at the best. So if I want to make it 180 and this is an alkyne, okay, this is 180 and this is 180, and then I have to bring a cycle, means I need a large enough cycle to form a cyclic molecule. And it has been shown that you can have a stable cycle with C10, C9 and C8 are possible with a very high ring strain. Anything lower than that is going to be extremely difficult to prepare. Okay. Now what about the bond strength? The strength of a triple bond is obviously going to be higher than a double bond, which is higher than a single bond. I want to make a clarification here. This is just one bond, this is two bonds, this is three bonds. So if the amount of energy I need to put to break this bond is x, that does not mean this is equal to 2x, that does not mean this is equal to 3x. This is going to be less than 2x. Okay, this is going to be less than 3x. So this is something you want to know. So what it means is it's easier to break a pi bond than a sigma bond. Okay, a sigma bond is stronger than a pi bond, so the amount of energy I need to put in for a sigma bond is x. So I'll put x to break this sigma bond, but this pi bond doesn't need x, so it will not going to become 2x, something less than 2x. Similarly, two pi bonds, I don't need to put 3x, I need to put a lot less than 3x. And so one more thing that we can look into here is the bond length. This is something I showed you last time itself in alkenes. You can roughly remember it as 1.2, 1.3, 1.5. The bond gets longer as the bond order gets smaller. Okay, bond order is 1, so the atoms are far away. Here if you see this, the overlaps require the atoms to come closer. Okay, imagine this way, if I were to draw overlap of the orbitals. Okay, okay, these two, let's say for example they are far away, they can do this. For a pi bond, these has to overlap sideways, they cannot be far away. Okay, they have to be within a certain distance to overlap, so they have to come closer. So a triple bond is always going to be shorter than a double bond, which is shorter than a single bond. Right? Alkynes have 2 degrees of unsaturation. Okay, hence the molecular formula CnH2n minus 2. 2 degrees of unsaturation is equal to an alkyne or two alkenes, two double bonds, or two rings, or one ring and one double bond. Okay, here we are going to look at only at alkyne, so it is 2 degrees of unsaturation, and I have come a few molecules here just to practice IUPAC. So first set of molecule I have here are alkylenols, meaning an alkyne entity, a triple bond right there, and alcohol entity. So if you see IUPAC naming, your OH comes before triple bond. So I have to give priority to OH. If there is no OH, I would have given priority to the triple bond. I would have started numbering here 1, 2, 3. Okay. Also 1, 2. But because OH is there, I'm giving priority to this one 1, 2, 3. So 3 all is the most important one, and then the longest chain is 8 carbon oct, and at 5 I have 5 methyl, and okay, I think there is a small numbering mistake here. This is supposed to be 6. Okay, this is assumed as carbon and carbon. Okay, sorry for the picture. Okay, so this is 6, so this would be 5 methyl, 6 ine, 3 all. Okay, so you put in together. When you go to this one, okay, again my OH is the important one, so it has to get position 1, 1 all. Then the longest chain would be the cyclic one, 6 of them, so cyclohexenol. To cyclohexenol I have a group that is C triple bond CH. So this is from ethine, so ethane becomes ethyl, ethine becomes ethinyl. So at carbon 1 I have all and ethinyl. So one ethinyl, one all, and cyclohex is the base. Here is a very good example. So I want to give priority to OH again. So the ways of numbering are 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3, 4. If I do this way, my triple bond gets really good numbering, whereas my OH doesn't get. So I cannot use this. This is the right way to do. So this is going to be 2 all and 3 ine. There is 4 carbons. So 3 butene, 3 butene, 2 all. Or you can also write it, both are perfectly fine depending on the chemist. They are exactly same, but 3 ine, 2 all. Okay, couple more. Here we don't have any confusion regarding who gets a priority. Your alkyl groups and halo groups do not get priority over your triple bond, so they don't get the numbering priority. So I have to go with the ine. So if I go this way 1, 2, 3 ine, I go this way 1, 2, 3, 4 ine. So obviously I like it that it is 3 ine. Sorry, 7. So this is going to be heptine, 3 heptine. At position 2 I have methyl, position 6 I have bromo. I put bromo before methyl because B before M. You don't care about the numbering, you put B before M. So 6 bromo, 2 methyl. It's always okay to say 3 heptine or hep3ine. It doesn't really matter. Going on to the same thing, just like here I have my ethinyl. So this is one ethinyl and one chloro. So it's relatively simple. Once you practice, IUPAC is something where you get it now, so you don't need to revise closer to the exam. Now let's go into synthesis of your alkyne. This is going to be relatively easy because if you did your alkenes, you just have to do it 2 times, many of the reactions. So here if you see, when I have a halide, I can do minus HX and form an alkene. But if I have a dihalide, I can do 2 times and get an alkyne. Just few things you want to see here. The HX doesn't go from the same carbon, it goes from different carbon. This is something you want to remember. This HX is removed and you always get an anti-elimination. You want to remember that this is anti. We have not seen conformers yet, so you don't need to worry about it. Just know the name anti-elimination, meaning the base comes and attacks this. This comes as a double bond. This goes with a lone pair. This is exactly similar to what we saw in alkene. Preferentially, there is always a trans isomer, okay, because trans is more stable. Now once I have it, what I have right now is vinyl halide. A vinyl group is nothing but C double bond C. If you have a OH, it becomes vinyl or vinyl alcohol. If you have a X, it becomes vinyl or vinyl halide. Okay, allyl means extra carbon. Okay, now I have a vinyl halide. Now when you see here, specifically I put here fast and slow. Okay, this is not in regards to rate alone, it also has certain fundamental. Once you lose this molecule is not going to lose one more HX easily, so this is going to be slow, so I need a much stronger base to do. Normally you use NaNH2, so if you put a stronger base you end up with an alkyne. Depending on what is present here, if there was H here you would have got a terminal alkyne. Because I have R1 and R2, I get a non-terminal alkyne. Okay. The bases you can use are molten or fused, both are same, molten or fused KOH or alcoholic KOH. You do not want to use aqueous KOH. So the reason, because aqueous KOH always have a dilemma whether it should behave as a base or a nucleophile. If it behaves as a base, well and good, I will get what I want. If it behaves as a nucleophile, the OH will replace X. So hence you always want alcoholic or molten KOH. In NEET and IIT JEE mains, you usually see alcoholic, and this is how they give you alcoholic KOH. They sometimes give it as alcoholic OH minus, or they can even give it to you as C2H5 OH, C2H5O minus, Na plus. This is nothing but this is a base. C2H5O minus is a base. This is alcohol, alcoholic base. It's all different ways of giving the same. You can either use that or you can use NH2 minus. NH3 is a base. It's a Lewis base. It's weak. But if I take a hydrogen, I have two lone pairs right now, so it's a much stronger base, extremely strong base. If NH2 is a weak base, okay, meaning if it wants to behave, it's going to behave as a base, meaning it's an extremely weak acid. A weak acid's conjugate is extremely strong. Okay, so this is extremely weak acid, so this is extremely strong base. Couple of salient points here. If you have, there is an option. Alcoholic AOH prefers an internal alkyne, whereas NH2 minus prefers an terminal alkyne. Okay. Now here is a basic mechanism. If you have seen your dehydrohalogenation of synthesis of alkenes, this is just 2 times over. A base abstracts acidic hydrogen, okay, and you form a double bond, which one more time if you do the same, the base abstracts the second hydrogen, you form a triple bond. Okay, both of them are E2 elimination, meaning the base and the substrate take part in the rate determining step. All right, yes, this is 2 times over. Now we just saw that molten KOH and alcoholic KOH prefers internal alkyne, whereas NH2 minus prefers external alkyne. Here is a good example. Exact same compound. When I use molten KOH, this Cl2 abstracts this two hydrogen and you get a triple bond here. Whereas when I go here, this Cl2 plus this hydrogens are abstracted and you get a triple bond over here. So this is terminal, this is non-terminal. This gives us an option to synthesize whatever compound we want. Just look out for what it is going to do. Here NaNH2, the important species here is NH2 minus. Again in NEET, you don't have to remember the exact temperatures, just know the temperature is involved. The next we can do is, we just saw vicinal dihalide giving you alkyne. A geminal dihalide will also do, provided there are enough hydrogens. Okay. Okay. Right. This is supposed to be missing something here. Sorry. So this is CH2, CH3, CH, Br, Br. So I can take 2HX 2 times over and you can get the corresponding compound. Okay. So just like a vicinal, a geminal can also do, no big difference. Same, first HBr elimination is easy, second one is going to be tough. Right. What we can do is just like our alkenes, okay, a vicinal dihalide with zinc gave you alkene. A tetrahalo compound, a tetrahalide can do 2 times over. One molecule of zinc will take these two X atom, another molecule will take these two X atom, I get a alkyne. Hydrolysis of carbides, these you don't have mechanism, these are straightforward memory questions. Okay, so you can remember it this way. Calcium carbide, okay, you can synthesize calcium carbide, calcium oxide plus coke. This is not that important, but calcium carbide is Ca2 plus C triple bond C minus C2 minus. So already this molecule has the acetylene structure inside. It abstracts proton from water and becomes acetylene. So if you look at it, 3 carbons, 2 carbons give you acetylene, 3 carbons give you propyne. You want to remember these two examples. These come a lot of time in A to B, B to C reactions. Moving on, preparation of an higher alkyne from terminal alkyne. These are different. Typically, you don't see this in your school syllabus, but this is in NEET syllabus. It's actually very simple. So when you have a terminal alkyne, okay, so I have a terminal alkyne here. Terminal alkynes are acidic. So acidic means these are delta plus. Okay, so Grignard's reagent, you always want to remember this way: a metal is always positive, the R is always negative. Okay, so the negative counterpart will abstract the positive counterpart here and becomes, this is, if R is CH3, this will become CH4. Alright, so this becomes minus, which will attack to this. The minus attaches to this minus attaches to this plus, I get the corresponding RH plus this. Now the next step, I can add R2. R2 is a different R, it's not two R groups, just RX. R2 means different R group. So I have the same here, so it's still delta minus, this is delta minus, this is delta plus. So these two combine and give you the corresponding alkyne. Okay, how you can remember it is, imagine that this is RC triple bond C minus. Okay, this is similar to RO minus plus R2X gives you RO R2 plus X minus. Williamson's ether synthesis. This is similar to that. Okay, not exactly similar, but this is how you can remember it. Okay, again, when you have an alkyne, you can synthesize a higher alkyne when you have a terminal one. And the beauty of this reaction is, this hydrogen can be replaced by anything I want. Okay, because that is going to be determined by the Rx I'm going to use. Let's say I want 3 carbons here, I would use 3 carbons. I want isopropyl group here, I'll put isopropyl group. It gives me control over the alkyne I want. I can do the same thing using alkylation of terminal alkynes. Terminal alkyne, I put NH2 minus, the hydrogen is acidic, it goes away. I get triple bond C minus. This can react with Rx to give you this. This is exactly looking like our ether synthesis. Correct? RO minus, Williamson's ether synthesis. RO minus reacting with Rx giving you ROR. Similar to that. Okay. Here this behaves as a nucleophile. This nucleophile replaces X minus. X minus becomes the leaving group. Okay. NH2 minus abstract a proton, you get C minus. Okay. This C minus, now this is behaving as a nucleophile. So let's look into this. This is taking a hydrogen, so this behaves as a base. Now this behaves as a nucleophile and Br minus behaves as a leaving group. Okay, very simple. Now what will we get if we do this reaction? So the NH2 minus is going to abstract a proton, so I will get C3H7C triple bond C minus. Okay, this will go and attack the C2H5. And we will get C3H7C triple bond C single bond C2H5. That's pretty much it. And you're not even going to write this down in the exam. If options are printed, count the number of carbons, you'll be okay. Okay, again, there are two ways of doing higher alkynes. One is through the Grignard's reagent method. The other is through the NaNH2 method. The next we are going to see is extremely simple. If you use logic, you will be okay. Kolbe electrolysis. Okay. Hermann Kolbe or Hermann Kolbe is a German chemist, extremely popular. You actually can relate two of his PhD students that he guided. One of them is Zaitsev, who got the name after Zaitsev product. The other one, it's not Hoffman. Okay, Zaitsev is one of the students. The other one is Markovnikov. The Markovnikov principle is based on the Russian chemist Markovnikov, who also did his PhD under Hermann Kolbe. Now, Kolbe's electrolysis is extremely efficient. For alkane, we saw two molecules combined to give you RR. In alkyne, how you can see it is, this segment gives you an alkyne, and in alkene becomes an alkyne because there's already two bonds. One more bond gives you the corresponding triple bond. So you're going to lose the COOH. So how you want to get the final product? Delete the COOH, get R prime. Here delete the COOH, put a double bond. Here delete the COOH or COONA, put a triple bond. As simple as that. Okay. Good thing about cold-based electrolysis is you cannot confuse with any other reaction because electrolysis will be given to you. Alright, now that we saw synthesis of alkenes, let's go into reactions of alkenes. The reactions of alkenes are of twofold. One is because of the addition reaction around the pi bonded carbon, okay, the C triple bond C. The other is because of the acidic character of terminal alkyne. This set of reaction is only because of the terminal alkynes. Non-terminal can only do these reactions. Here I didn't put specifically electrophilic. Most of the reactions are electrophilic, although there are nucleophilic addition reactions of alkynes. That's also possible. Okay. Now when you look at this, schematic is very simple. This is a pi cloud. So it can go attack an electrophile, form a carbocation. This is a vinyl carbocation. Because this is an electrophile right now, it has a positive charge. It can be attacked by any nucleophile that is present, in this case Cl minus. Okay. We are going to see, just like our alkenes, the same reactions over and over. When it comes to acidic hydrogen, this hydrogen is terminal and also this one. Okay. pKa is 25. Okay. Compared to NH3. So this is a stronger acid than NH3. Okay. What it means is couple of things. If HC triple bond C H is stronger acid than NH3, the corresponding conjugate base is weaker. This is weaker, this is stronger. Obviously, this is strong base, this is strong acid among the given set. So these two will react. Okay? And that's what is here. These two reacts. The stronger acid among them reacts with a stronger base among them to give you the weaker base and weaker acid. Right? Because of this property, alkynes or terminal alkynes more specifically give a set of reactions. We will see how these are important, how they come in NEET and IIT. First we'll look into the acidic hydrogens, very few reactions, the terminal alkynes. Qualitative test. Okay, test for unsaturation, meaning presence of a triple bond. Just like our alkenes, a bromine water will answer for alkynes as well. Bromine is an excellent electrophile. Bromine water is Br2. Bromine, not bromine water, bromine is CCl4. This is nothing but Br and Br. Okay. In presence of an alkyne, this is actually delta plus and delta minus. So this can behave as an electrophile and react with the nucleophilic pi bonds, addition reaction. Hence, decolorization of this bromine solution will give you an idea that there is a triple bond present. Similarly, decolorization of 1% alkaline KMnO4, nothing but Bayes reagent. And we did this extensively in alkene notes. Just go look at it. An alkene can answer, an alkyne can also answer. Which can answer easily? Obviously, an alkyne, because a C triple bond C is more reactive than a double bond C because there are two pi electrons, meaning pi cloud is larger and they really want to react. Okay, these are qualitative tests. Okay, qualitative means it tells you the quality of a triple bond, more specifically a terminal triple bond. There are two more tests that are important. You don't need to remember the formulas, just look at it. A terminal alkyne will answer a Tollens reagent and Fehling solution. We'll look into what is Tollens, what is Fehling's more detailed when we go to aldehyde and ketones. Okay, we will also look into Benedict solution at that time. At this point, a Tollens reagent for an aldehyde gives you silver mirror. because you get Ag precipitated. Here you want to remember that it gives you silver acetylide, which is a white precipitate. Similarly, failing solution, copper is present, so it gives you copper acetylide, red precipitate. Okay, the major difference is an aldehyde gives you silver mirror, a terminal alkane give you white precipitate. When it comes to copper, both of them give you red precipitate. Alkynes as nucleophile. A terminal alkyne, as we saw before, it can lose the hydrogen in presence of a strong base. Now I have a strong base here and also a nucleophile. So this can go on attack just like Williamson's ether synthesis. Because the substitution reaction happens with the nucleophile and the substrate in the same step, it is substitution nucleophilic second order. You just kick out this leaving group and put the corresponding nucleophile. This is an alkynide ion. It behaves as a nucleophile instead of a base. But this has the tendency to behave as a base as well, depending on what halide you take. If you want this reaction to work, just like Williamson's ether synthesis, it's better that if you use a 1 degree alkyl halide. If you use a 2 or 3 degree alkyl halide, okay, this instead of behaving as a nucleophile, it would have a tendency to behave as a base, and instead of substituting the Br, it will eliminate HBr. Okay, remember HBr dehydrohalogenation, you want a base, and this is a good enough base to do this. So if I remove the HBr, I'll end up forming this becomes a corresponding alkyne. The hydrogen is attached to this, and this becomes the alkene and the corresponding Br minus. So when you want this reaction to happen, you want the Rx to be 1 degree, 2 degree and 3 degree preferentially gives you elimination reaction instead of substitution. So here you can clearly see SN2, whereas this is E2. 2 degree gives you a mixture, but more readily an alkene instead of a substituted product. Alright, let's do a couple of examples. That's the only way to remember all these reactions. Now, how do you read the questions in NEET? So I've been given this. So this is your thought process. Alkyne NaNH2. So the terminal alkyne goes away, a minus sign. And then I have Rx. The next thing you want to do is what degree? Okay, this is 1 degree Rx. So SN2. Only after thinking like this, you're going to be proceeding. So let me do it one more time just for clarity. How do you proceed in NEET? NaNH2, okay, terminal alkane, so this behaves as a base. It abstracts this hydrogen as H plus and this becomes minus. Okay, now this has the option to behave as a base versus nucleophile. It can be both. I have Rx here and the degree is 1 degree, so this is going to be behaving as a nucleophile SN2 reaction. So I get the corresponding compound, which is an alkyne. I don't have any elimination. So now I go here. Let's do this one. Acetylene, okay, this is NaNH2, so this is NH2 minus, H plus is gone, this is going to be minus. Again I have Rx. It's a long molecule, it's still a 1 degree Rx, so I will have substitution reaction. So I will have HC triple bond C minus as attacked to this one, so I will get C2H5 5 times CH3. So this is 6 carbon, there is 6 carbon here, there's 2 carbon, I get a substituted product. When I go here, I have the same NH2 minus, it behaves as a base, takes H plus and this is minus. This has a tendency for base versus nucleophile. I have Rx, but this is 3 degree Rs, so this is going to be elimination reaction. So let's draw this molecule out. So this is what I have. Okay, I have this, so it is going to be elimination reaction. I will have 1 to 2 methyl propene or isobutene. and this has subtracted this hydrogen, so it is going to be C C C triple bond CH. Okay, so the products are this and this. Okay, so now print it out, practice it yourself, and you should be able to solve. But you don't have to draw the exact molecule. All you have to do is, this is going to give you an elimination product. Out of the 4 options, maybe only one is the correct, one option has elimination, meaning you don't have to draw exactly. If there is 2 elimination product, just look at the number of carbons. This is going to give you an alkene. The alkene should be 4 carbon alkene. Okay, look at whether there is 4 carbon alkene given. Right, reactions of alkynes. Let's go into hydrogenation. Just like our alkene, the alkyne will also undergo hydrogenation, except it will go 2 times. Okay, 2 molecules will get Sabatier-Sundance reaction. Synthesis of alkanes, we saw this. Okay, this also we saw as a reaction of synthesis of alkenes has become reaction of alkyne. Lindlar, Casalis and Birch reduction. A Lindlar will give you cis alkene, trans will obtained by Birch reduction. What all we saw before is this is syn addition, same side, this is anti-addition. H2 and palladium will give you an alkane. Palladium housed on BaSO4 decreases the rate, but still you have to poison the catalyst. You can use quinoline or sulfur. Okay. Birch reduction is nothing but sodium and liquid ammonia. Okay. Sodium and liquid ammonia forms ammoniated electron, which is blue in color. You're going to see this in S block. Ammoniated electron, blue in color, goes and attacks the triple bond and ends up giving you a double bond. Right. Reactions of alkynes, halogenation. Okay, this is similar to alkene as well. You can add one molecule of X2 to get you an alkene, okay, or 2 molecules of X2 to give you tetrahalo product. Now here if you see, couple of things you want to know, you want to remember the reactivity order. Cl2 will react much faster than I2. They go through a cyclic halonium ion just like our alkenes. So if you see alkene, I have shown you there a cyclic halonium ion. Okay. 2 iodine atoms getting attached is extremely difficult, so it's going to be slow. Now here if you see, a trans is major, cis is minor. So imagine that once you form a cyclic halonium ion, the next one has to come and attack here or here. Which is easier, do you think? Obviously steric hindrance is not there. This is going to be tough. So this is easy. If this is there, this X comes opposite to this one. So anti-addition, trans, easy. But there are concerted mechanisms. You don't need the mechanism where cis is also possible, but it is going to be minor. So if given an option, major is always going to be trans dialkene, sorry, dihaloalkene. When you add 2 molecules or 2 moles, doesn't really matter, they get attached easily. Now understand, you can actually go from here to here easily. What would you do? Just use zinc, going from tetrahaloalkane to alkyne. Right? Hydrohalogenation, HX. This is extremely simple, just like before. Just like our alkene, the double bond attached the hydrogen there. Here a triple bond is even more reactive. It is going to attack a hydrogen. This behaves as a nucleophile. This behaves as an electrophile. Attacks and takes the hydrogen and forms a X minus. Okay, now the X minus can attack the carbocation and give you the corresponding hydrohalogenated product. Now what you want to make sure here is the hydrogen attaches to the carbon. Here there are 2 carbons here. This carbon has 1 hydrogen already. That's the carbon that hydrogen has gone to. So basically what you have is a Markovnikov addition. Okay. So exactly like alkene, this will undergo Markovnikov addition. and what you have is a vinyl cation, vinyl carbocation. So here you want to remember this reactivity is same as your alkene, Hi, HBr, HCl, HF. Remember this way, Hi is the strongest acid among them. This is the acidity order also because of bond length. We saw this in periodicity lecture. The longer the bond, the more the acidity. So Hi is a stronger acid, it will react faster. Okay. Here if you see, you get mix of E and Z isomer. Okay, mix of, you can also say mix of cis and trans isomer, both are same depending on how you want to do. Here I cannot say cis or trans. Okay, let's say for example this is R2, meaning here I will have R2, so it will be a mix of E and Z isomer. Why is this? Because this is a carbocation, the X minus can attack either this way or this way equally, because this is going to be accessible from both sides. So obviously you will end up getting both cis and trans isomers. Okay. Again, when you have an alkyne, exactly like alkene, it is going, the triple bond behaves as a nucleophile, attacks a electrophilic hydrogen, and then the nucleophile attacks the carbocation hence formed. According to Markovnikov addition, you're going to have a mix of E and Z isomer. So if you have Markovnikov addition normally this way, then you can also do anti-Markovnikov, but anti-Markovnikov is not useful for anybody else except HBr. If you do peroxide, hydrogen gets attached to the carbon with less number of hydrogens, so this is a peroxide product. Now you can do 2 moles. What if you do 2 moles? It is going to be Markovnikov addition in the absence of peroxide. So let's say for example the first carbon gets the hydrogen, the second carbon gets the Br. The next molecule coming in, so now I have a double bond, next molecule coming in will look and see that okay, this carbon already has hydrogen, I will get the second hydrogen here and there will be second Br here. So if you do Markovnikov addition 2 times, you will see that, for example, let's even make an example here. If I do HBr here, I will get CBr double bond CH2, one more HBr will end up giving you CCBr BrCH3. So the hydrogen will get attached to the carbon with more number of hydrogens, Markovnikov. If you were to do peroxide 2 times, okay, you will end up getting CH2 CHBr2, exact opposite of this one. So again, this is exactly similar to alkene, you are doing it 2 times. So take your time, okay, do it slowly in the exam so you don't make any mistake. Reactions of alkynes, hydration, just like our alkenes, we can do hydration of alkynes. We can do oxymercuration, demercuration. The only difference is, if you go to previous slide, we just saw that HBr can add like alkene 2 times. In an alkyne, it is not going to happen 2 times because of tautomerism. So the first time when it adds, it's going to be Markovnikov addition. So you're going to add HOH, hydrogen attaches to the carbon with more number of hydrogens. This attaches to OH, so you get this product. This is a enol. Enol. Okay, we already saw tautomerism before. Enol is not a stable isomer or a stable tautomer. It will tautomerize to give you the corresponding ketone. So what happens is this hydrogen will migrate here. Okay, this becomes a double bond here, this becomes a single bond here, so you get the corresponding keto form. In a keto-enol tautomerism, there is only 2 conditions where enol form is stable. We already saw this in a previous lecture once. Either because there is aromaticity, the enol can be stable, or it can be intramolecular hydrogen bonding. Example, acetyl-acetone. Otherwise, the keto form is always going to be stable. Here is a representation of the keto-enol tautomerism. You can see the alpha hydrogen is the one that migrates here and forms the corresponding keto. Okay. Here it's another example of an actual compound. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 butane giving you butanone. Okay, you don't need to say 2 butanone, you don't have any other isomer, so there's only one butanone, one type of butanone. Okay, it's always going to be carbon number 2, so you always get a butanone. So you cannot add H2O two times to a triple bond, only once you can add, and it will always tautomerize to give you the corresponding compound. This is going to be extremely important because if you have a triple bond that is terminal, you always tautomerize to give you a methyl ketone. This importance of this methyl ketone is a methyl ketones can answer iodoform test. Okay, we are going to see, we have not seen iodoform yet. This will come under ketone topic, but once you finish organic chemistry, you need to know that a methyl ketone can be arrived when you do oxymercuration demercuration of a terminal alkyne. This is how you want to write your short notes. Okay, you will remember most of this reaction, but things that you will forget are which ones give you what test. If we can do oxymercuration demercuration, we can also do hydroboration oxidation. Exactly simple. Just like before, you're going to do, just like alkene, hydroboration oxidation will be opposite of oxymercuration demercuration. It's going to be anti-Markovnikov product. So the hydrogen goes to the carbon with the least number of hydrogen, and OH goes to this one. That's what we have here. Okay. You don't need to remember the species. You just need to know the final product. This is a enol. It will tautomerize to give you the corresponding ketone. Alpha hydrogen moves over here. If you want me to draw it differently, you can see that R, C, hydrogen, double bond. Okay. This bond is formed with this hydrogen, with this carbon. This is taken over there. So you get the corresponding one. So this is an enol giving you a ketone. But in this case, because it's a terminal aldehyde, sorry, terminal alkyne, it will give you an aldehyde. This is an important property. Look at this compound. A terminal alkyne can undergo hydroboration oxidation giving you an aldehyde, which can answer a tolerance reagent in filling solution, whereas oxymercuration demercuration and give you a methyl ketone. So how do you identify a terminal alkyne is? Either you can do tolerance and fillings right away, this will react, okay, or you can do the corresponding, and this is an important reaction in NEET and JEE mains. Okay. They always give you, A gives you B answers tolerance and fillings. Okay, so accordingly you need to know the corresponding whether it is going to be terminal alkyne or non-terminal alkyne. Okay. Now, just like before, alkene, if you are done HOX addition, alkyne you can do, except it will add only to one molecule right away. You get a ketoenol tautomerism and corresponding ketoform is formed. So just like before, alkene you add it once, alkyne, you just don't add it one more time because it tautomerizes. The activity is similar to the previous time also you saw in alkene. HOCl is more reactive than HOBr than HOI. Exact similar HCN addition. Okay, HCN, H plus and CN minus addition. So this one, HCN addition, if you see the hydrogen goes to the one carbon, CN minus goes to the other carbon. Why this is important is, this undergoes polymerization to give you polyacrylonitrile. This is acrylonitrile. Okay, it will give you polyacrylonitrile or Orlon. This is important in polymer chemistry. Oxidation with KMnO4. In our alkene, you saw dilute KMnO4 giving you diol, whereas a concentrated conditions breaks the double bond. Here when you see, the same thing is going to happen. If you see, take alkyne for example, I have a neutral solution. You want to remember this condition. A neutral one is weak. So I get COH, COH, R2, double bond. I can add one more time because I have a double bond. I get tetrahydroxy. When you have a gem diol, okay, carbon attached to 2 OH, this is not stable. This will always eliminate a molecule of water to give you corresponding C double bond O. You want to remember this throughout chemistry. This is going to come. A gem diol is nothing but COH twice. Will always give you C double bond O. So similarly, this can eliminate this. So you get a diketone, right? So this is with a neutral solution. You don't need mechanism. Just know an alkyne with neutral KMnO4 will give you diketone. The two carbons just become double bond O, double bond O. That's all. But this bond is still there present. When you use hot condition, alkaline KOH or the alkaline KMnO4 or acidic KMnO4, just like our alkene, it will cleave the bond and you'll get the corresponding COO minus. Because it's alkaline, you don't get COOH. Okay, if you want, you can put HCl and become the carboxylic acid. Here you get carboxylate ion. Just like your alkene, this will break the bond and becomes COO minus, COO minus, corresponding carboxylate ion. A terminal alkyne, if you break it, okay, this is going to be the same RCOO minus, not a problem. This is HCOO minus, which is formate, which is going to give you carbonic acid with H plus. Okay, this is not going to be stable. Okay, this is not stable. This will give you CO2 and H2O. So what you can do is a terminal alkyne with KMnO4. Just remember it this way. You don't need to write down any of them. Terminal alkyne will give you CO2 and H2O. This turns lime water milky. Right. The next one we saw is alkene ozonolysis. Alkane also does ozonolysis. There's two types of ozonolysis we saw: reductive ozonolysis and oxidative. A reductive ozonolysis, okay, for an alkene, okay, this gave C double bond O and C double bond O. When you take an alkyne, okay, look at it this way, I get the same. Okay, they are exactly same except two bonds break and double bond O forms. Here two bonds break, double bond O form, but the third bond is still there. So I get diketone. Alright. But if I use oxidative, this is oxidative, this is reductive. Oxidative is stronger. Okay. So let's take this is H2O. Okay, sorry, H2O. H2O2 is right here. A diketone is going to be broken by oxidative H2O2 to give you corresponding RCOO minus, RCOOH and RCOOH. This is just like your alkene. An alkene breaks into corresponding alcohols, and alkyne breaks in, acids. An alkene breaks into corresponding acids, the alkyne breaks into corresponding acids. Checking these acids will tell you where is your triple bond present, location of your triple bond. Okay, let's look into a couple of examples. That's the only way I told you that you can do organic chemistry. So, product of ozonolysis. So, what we can do is, if suppose you do reductive, all I have to do is C double bond O, C double bond O. Okay, that's how it is going to be. C double bond O. This is going to be CHO. This is C double bond O, C double bond O. This is C double bond O. This is cyclodecyne. So this is C double bond O, C double bond O. That's all. This is CHO because it's terminal. Okay. This is reductive. If I use oxidative, oxidative is very simple. Oxidative means ozonolysis in presence of ozonolysis in presence of O3 and H2O2. You break this and form the corresponding COO minus, COO minus. Okay, here it's going to be COO minus, break this bond, COO minus, CO minus. This is terminal, so it will give you CO2 plus H2O. Terminal CO2 plus H2O. This will become COO minus or COOH actually in this case because it's ozonolysis. So this will become COOH, COH. So what would you name this compound? So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So decane diaioic acid, and that's going to be 1, 10, or you can say decane 1, 10 diaioic acid. Alright, last few ones are just very specific to alkynes. So far we have seen alkynes give the same reaction as alkenes, just 2 times over. These are specific reactions. Isomerization of alkynes. This is extremely useful. Remember when we saw our synthesis of alkynes, dehydrohalogenation, alcoholic KOH prefers internal alkyne, NH2 minus prefers terminal alkyne. That's all we have here. If I have a terminal alkyne, alcoholic KOH will give me non-terminal alkyne. So the triple bond has moved over here. There's a mechanism for this. KOH will abstract this hydrogen, the minus sign will be there, and then you can do all this. You don't need a mechanism, just know that a non-terminal alkyne is preferred in presence of alcoholic KOH. So a terminal one becomes a non-terminal. NaNH2 prefers a terminal one, so a non-terminal becomes a terminal. Okay. Next one is cyclic polymerization. This is an extremely important reaction. This one, 3 molecules of acetylene in a red hot iron tube will give you benzene. It's cyclic polymerization or aromatization. This has come many times in NEET, not just by itself. A gives you B, B on electrophilic substitution gives you C, something like that. So this goes from a non-aromatic compound to an aromatic compound. So if 2 carbons times 3 gives you 6, 3 carbons times 3 gives you 9 carbons, except only this is the point of focus. So this gives you benzene, these 3, this becomes 3 substituent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 3, 5, trimethyl benzene, also called mesitylene. This is useful for dye preparation. Okay. Also, this is a very good solvent for some of the organic chemistry reactions. Okay. Now, this is pretty much it for your entire aliphatic hydrocarbons. Just make sure this looks simple. Okay. The molecules will look confusing until you practice. Once you practice and get the mechanisms correct, it's going to be much easier. Again, alkane, alkene, alkynes are much tougher than the rest of the organic chemistry that is going to follow, because what you are going to have from now on is class 12 organic chemistry. Class 12 is mostly reactions, whereas class 11 is mostly mechanism based reactions. So this is obviously tougher, but even if you're stronger in class 12 organic chemistry, the questions will come such that A gives you B, B gives you C. A gives you B will be class 11, B gives you C will be class 12. So knowing the second half alone is not useful. So make sure you spend your time, and also I'll send you a worksheet and we'll solve a worksheet over the video. Only by solving you will get organic chemistry. Okay, at first time it is going to be a little bit tougher, but unlike your school, you don't have to draw much. You will be able to do it just looking at it. And trust me, most of my students in a year-long program, repeaters program, organic is the part of chemistry where they don't worry. Okay, that is something where only repeated pattern gets over and over. Once you get used to carbocation, stability, and then rearrangements, you're going to be okay. All right, thank you guys.